All right, we're live. Boilermaker fans, welcome into the Big Time Boiler podcast. I am your host, the Big Time Boiler. Got Just Falcon with me, also known as Cole. Cole, welcome aboard. Purdue once again with a thrilling victory, 31-29 over the Maryland Terps. I guess what can you say, man? We're like the anti-Nebraska. Every game's close, one-score game, but we're on the winning side of it, which is a good thing to happen. I guess a good side to be on.
Yeah, we've been pulling them out. It's been, the heart rate is spiking during the games, but it's been a good result at the end the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. I was joking with Boiled Sports. I think they asked for questions, and I said something like, "I think we're all going to lose about a year of our life on." This season. I mean, can we please beat somebody by more than 2 scores? I mean, that would be obviously the line for this Nebraska game's at 13, 14 points. I haven't seen it here lately, but
oh wow,
I think Vegas is expecting a double-digit win, and I think if Purdue is going to be legit, Big Ten West champion, we need to take full advantage and beat them by 2 scores.
Yeah, the time is now.
Yes.
Yeah, Nebraska 2-1 in the Big Ten, so they're tied for first place with us and Illinois, I think.
Hey, they're right on your expectations.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I am surprised. So going into the season, obviously, I thought they're going to be better than they were, but I especially thought the offense was going to be better than they were with all the transfers they have, and they do have what seems to be a pretty good running game, but for some reason they haven't been scoring, and hopefully our defense just keeps it that way.
Well, in fairness to you, I think maybe not at least probably not Purdue fans in general, but a lot of the media and a lot of college football fans in general seem to have, or before the season, drank that Nebraska Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
Nebraska fans, of course, do that every year, much like IU basketball fans. But they were definitely drinking the Kool-Aid, talking about 8-9 wins, Big Ten West champions, and then I think we said it on this podcast, even if Scott Frost, if he loses to Northwestern, does he make it back to Omaha or Lincoln, Nebraska without getting fired? And he did, but not very long.
By 2 weeks, yeah.
Losses to who did they lose to? Yeah, they beat North Dakota 38-17.
Georgia Southern, I think, was the
Georgia Southern, 45-42, and they fired him there. Yeah, so they're 1-2, and then Mickey Joseph comes in, and I thought that Oklahoma game they might get that, especially being at home, they might get that new coach boost, if you will. Which they did not. They got absolutely I think they scored the first touchdown, and then they got beat 49-7. They got outscored after that. Then obviously beat Indiana by 2 scores and Rutgers by 1. And I made a post on Gold and Black that I watched. I didn't watch any of that game against Rutgers, but I watched the highlights and or I said lowlights, and my goodness, both teams looked terrible. Actually, Rutgers looked like they're all right, but they kept throwing the ball to Nebraska, like just absolutely terrible passes by the quarterback. I don't even know who it was. It wasn't Virgil. It was
Simon,
who I don't know why they're playing that guy. He stinks.
Yeah, I haven't watched a lot of Rutgers, but every time I look at the box score, it's less than 50% completion percentage, it looks like.
Yeah, it was bad, to say the least. Anyway, but yeah, so I guess another third week doing this. If you guys are just joining us, this is a somewhat of a call-in show. We're trying to not go 2.5 hours tonight. Got a hard cap. Probably just go to about 8:45. But I think we actually might have Nebraska fans jump on this too, which if you're a Nebraska fan, I don't care if you join, as long as you keep it cordial, keep it PG, and have a decent take. Otherwise, I get booted. But I guess before that, so if anyone wants to join, the link is in the description. The Big Time Boiler Show. The link should be in the comments. You want to click on there. Again, you can have a use your computer, use your cell phone, and not use video. It's up to you. Let's see. I think we got our first guy up here. Let's see here. Hey, Isaiah, can you hear us?
Oh, hello.
Hey.
Okay, so I have a question.
What's up?
How much of the game I got? Hold on, let me see. Let me see what I got. Let me see.
Oop.
Did we lose him?
Yeah, we lost him. All good. I'm not even sure if that was a legit one or not, but we got trolled last week.
I missed that. I heard about it, but was it a Purdue fan trolling or was it?
I know it was not a Purdue fan. It was funny. You can see him in the bottom corner, and it was some dude with a mullet. I'm like, this guy, no way is this guy a Purdue fan. And he jumped on. But anyway, let's keep talking the game. So anyway, so what, Cole, have you watched much Nebraska?
I watched some of their first game against Northwestern, and then some of the IU game where they ended up beating IU. Other than that, though, I don't think I've seen a whole lot. So yeah, I don't know a ton. I mean, the IU game was a little bit back and forth, which, IU doesn't seem like they're very good either. So that's, the offense, I can't remember what the final score of that game was, but the offense
35-21.
Yeah, so they did put up some points, but I think they had some turnovers in there too, and so did IU. So it was definitely not a clean game from either side. And Nebraska's defense, I think, made a few plays. But yeah, I don't know a ton. I even like special teams don't know about their, punting and kicking and all that. So I don't know. I know they got some good receivers. The transfer from LSU, I can't remember his name, but they
just lost one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he didn't do. I think like last couple of games he's done nothing, but against Northwestern he had a touchdown and over 100 yards.
Was it the New Mexico State transfer?
Gosh, I can tell you his name real quick. Great preparation by us today. It was that Isaiah Garcia Casanata.
Yeah, I think he's from New Mexico State because they had him, and then they had the LSU guy, and then they had Washington, who's from Texas.
You are correct, 100% correct. Yeah, New Mexico State. He had about 600 yards and 4 touchdowns last year for New Mexico State. And Nebraska, he's only had 120 for the season, that 1 touchdown, and that was basically all against Northwestern, which he looked like a legit player. But
gotcha. Trey Palmer, that's who
he's their stud. Yeah, he's a good
LSU
player.
Guy. Yeah, we've got to definitely lock him down. They've got, I think, some junior college running backs. At least one of them is junior college running back. That's pretty good. So, but I mean, our run defense looks pretty stout. It's another week of good run defense. It's becoming quite the trend by our guys. So it seems like that's probably their strength. I mean, running the ball. So that's our defense's strength as well at this point. So it's a good matchup for us, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. This run defense is legit. I don't think we've given up a 100-yard rusher all season, no matter what they are, quarterback or a running back. Obviously didn't play against Ibrahim, but, those Minnesota running backs aren't chopped liver, especially against that offensive line. So, we're real stout against the run so far this year. But, yeah, I kind of with Ted's kind of his comment here is kind of what I was thinking a little bit too. Is this Nebraska game scares me just because they're playing with nothing to lose and are free. We have all the pressure on us, and they should be able to match us talent wise. Yeah, I kind of agree. The only thing that Ted about that, and I think I heard somebody else mention this, is I'm kind of glad Nebraska's won the last 2 games against IU and Rutgers.
Yeah.
It kind of gives them they're hearing it from their own fans. They're hearing it from their students. Why not us? They're tied for first in the West. I think they maybe legitimately believe that they could win the West. And,
it's not that far with the way the West is looking.
It's not. It's not. I don't. Again, watching that Rutgers game and stuff, this is not a good football team. They're just not.
Yeah.
And we talked about the transfer portal, and I think Michigan State last year, that whole thing was an enigma. Them getting that
contract is looking.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it looks terrible.
Like an albatross.
You look at that Michigan State situation. They bring in I don't know what the numbers were, but they bring in like 30 guys or something like crazy like that. Basically, what Nebraska brought in this year, and it worked for them last year. Well, they tried the same strategy this year, and it's not working. And Nebraska tried that same strategy, and it's not working. It's not always going to work. In fact, I would bet probably too. It probably is going to work less than it is going to work. If that made any sense. But so this is not a great football team. Casey Thompson's a decent quarterback. He might have been overhyped a little bit. That offensive line, though, apparently is absolutely putrid. Absolutely putrid.
I think you're right.
And I'm just visiting Nebraska here, and I got a customer that's a big Nebraska fan. He goes, "That's our number one problem. Our offensive line is just atrocious." And I think our defensive ends are actually trending at the right time. I think Caraway looked really good against Maryland. He's getting better every game. That one play when he had contained with Tua, or not Tua, whatever his name is, little Tua. Taulia. That was a NFL type move where Taulia, cut back and Caraway didn't bite it. He was just literally right there. And then you had Sidnor just bear hug Taulia and just took him down. So I think those guys are coming on at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're still waiting on that first sack from Caraway. I think he
was close. I think
he had one in the maybe Indiana or FAU game, but there was a penalty, so it got taken away. So I don't think he's gotten one officially yet. So looking forward to that. Isaac had a good point here about Nebraska struggling early in games, and he thinks Purdue's going to come out hot. I think it's going to be a big key because especially with a team that is kind of probably a lot of their their confidence level is based off the last 2 weeks, I'm sure, of 2 wins. But if we can get a good start and kind of put them in that hole of okay, here we go again. So this is what we're used to, and just don't let them hang around and build that confidence up and up because they've got good players. They can make plays. So definitely don't want to keep them hanging around towards the end. So yeah, if we can just come out and squash them and just I don't want to say coast because we're going to have to play for 4 quarters, but just build up that buffer that we haven't seen yet in Big Ten play. That would be wonderful to see.
And quite frankly, we have to be able to do that. Purdue is not going to be able to. Well, I don't know. Maybe they are, but the odds say that Purdue is not going to be able to continue to play like this and win. More than. But aren't we like 50% and just over 50% now in close games? I guess if you put it with there's been 5 close games so far. Is that right?
Yeah, we're 4-2, and only one of them was not a game, and that was Indiana State. Well,
so
we're riding a pretty thin margin too, because I guess we did force a lot of turnovers against Minnesota with a lot of picks from Morgan, but I don't think we had very many turnovers against Maryland, so that's a pretty hard.
I believe just the one.
Yeah,
we had interception.
We had 3 of our own in the third quarter. So yeah, that's not a very good recipe for wins. Is getting losing the turnover battle. So yeah, that's probably not the path to victory going forward. But glad to see us, figure it out when we had to.
Isaac dropping some nice knowledge on there. Purdue's outscored opposing teams 50-10 in the first quarter. I believe, obviously, it's a true stat, but I believe it because it seems like I wonder what the stat is in Isaac in the third quarter. Have we even scored?
Yeah, second quarter too, because this was. I think Brian has been all over this on Golden Black, but this was the first game that Purdue scored more than 14. I think in the first half. The Maryland game, they scored 17. So yeah, more first half points will be helpful for sure, obviously. But yeah, I just think if we can just bury Nebraska early, and just let our defense, just pin the ears back, get the quarterback. Thompson's going to make mistakes. Seems like that's, the more opportunities he gets, the more opportunities he's going to throw some picks or get some fumbles. And that offensive line, like you mentioned, more opportunities for them to let somebody through. So, yeah, that's going to be a big – if the offense and defense can kind of play off one another, that would be nice to see, because a lot of times it's been one of them's up, one of them's down, not on the same page at the same time.
Yeah. Jay, which I believe this is Big Hut, my fraternity brother here. It's commenting in. Does Nebraska have a corner to match up with Chuck Sizzle? If not, he should eat. He should eat. I think Nebraska actually is dealing with some injuries in their secondary, and I don't think it was that good to begin with. So I think he should be. Unfortunately, I guess we can talk about this too. Is Purdue's getting a little beat up? I mean,
yeah,
he's hurt. Chuck Sizzle's. He's not 100%. I mean, nobody is this time of year anyway, but he's seems like he's pretty injured. He's going to play though through it, but I mean, Dylan Downing's now out. So, I mean, you're going to have to force feed Maccabee. Kobe Lewis is probably going to be number 2. And then Tyrone Tracy is going to be number 3. And actually maybe Tyrone Tracy will actually get some legit carries.
Yeah.
Going forward, depending on how Kobe Lewis does. Cause they keep saying, and Tom keeps saying this too on Golden Black, that, Maccabee's not built to be I guess every down back, if you will, from start to finish. And he is a bit frail, I guess. In fact, I saw there's an interview he did with, I think, the local news, and he didn't have pads on. He had his t-shirt, and he looked pretty skinny, but I mean, he gets it done, but yeah, he might not be able to keep taking hit after hit. So we're going to need 3 running backs. So Tyrone Tracy might be the guy to step up there finally, and maybe carve a niche, which I thought he had a pretty decent game against Maryland if it wasn't for that fumble. He had a nice catch in the slot. And
yeah. And the possession, a couple possessions before where Aiden fumbled, he had that nice catch and run that got us down in the red zone. We're good. We keep saying this. We're going to need playmakers to step up. I mean, Payne Durham has stepped up. Sounds like Yassine might play a little bit more this week, who, based off the Illinois game from last year, has proven he can play. I think he had 78 yards and 3 catches. So maybe he can help open up. And he seemed like he was actually a decent downfield threat. So maybe, he can help open up the offense, because that's one thing we haven't seen. I don't know if we've seen a deep ball sans Charlie Jones this year. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not sure we have.
I don't think we have. Which it seems like, a guy like Deion Burks, with his speed, you'd think maybe get him on the outside and let him go. But anyway, everybody that's joining us, welcome to the podcast. Again, if you guys want to join the show, the link is in the comments or in the video description. You do not have to have a video camera or webcam or whatever. You can just use your internet microphone, or you can use your cell phone as just a regular phone call, and we can hear you. That way will work. You just click on the link and it takes you into a studio, and it's pretty easy to figure it out. But so yeah, if anybody wants to join, hop on, talk about Purdue football, feel free. Again, we probably will only go for another 30 minutes or so tonight. No 2.5 hours. I'm at my home base for the first time on this podcast, not in a hotel. So I got some things to do, but if you guys want to jump on, feel free.
There's a couple things from the Maryland game I wanted to talk about. First, just real quick, it was nice to see the team, get off to or come back from a pretty bad start. So obviously we go 3 and out, first play, lose like 10 yards, drive killer instantly. So it's like, oh man, we're probably not getting a first down. We didn't, had to punt, and then their offense, goes through us like a hot knife through butter. Very easy touchdown. And with Taulua getting a QB run at the end, it's like, oh, well, here we go again. Can't stop the QB. But then the rest of the game, sans the very final drive and then the final drive of the first half, which was just blown coverage, I think. They really weren't moving the ball very well on us. The defense really stood up. And then kudos to the offense. As soon as Maryland scores a touchdown, we come down and we score. So just a really good response there from both the defense and the offense. Last week we talked about on the podcast the offense, sustaining better for 4 quarters. And I think they did that for the most part. The third quarter, with the big problem was just turnovers. They were moving the ball, but they just kept turning the ball over.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they kept shooting themselves in the foot. They were stupid. Yeah, they weren't like 3 and outs. You're right. They were just dumb.
The chains were
dumb
getting
penalties.
moved, but yeah, we couldn't finish. So again, we're still waiting for that, I think, complete game from the offense. Maybe it's this week. Let's hope. But
Better be.
Yeah, right. With Nebraska, yeah. But I think there was some signs of encouragement there. And then just a really, really strange scenario at the end of the game with the whole clock situation and do you score, do you not score? I mean, I thought Braum handled that about as well as he could have. I mean, as Payne Durham caught that pass to get the first down, which you got to give kudos to Braum, great play call. Maryland was obviously selling out for the run there. As he caught it, I was like, man, should he go down? Like, that was my thought anyway. But he kept going and got tackled at the 3-yard line, whatever. And then there was just, with how much time was left, it was a very, like, you don't want to score right away, but you don't want to take too many kneel downs. But yeah, I thought Braun played it pretty well, just kneeling down the first two and then going to score on third down. Because you'd hate to see him try it on fourth down and not get it. I mean, that would be such a gut punch.
Yeah, that's the call. I think, immediately when that happened, you, myself, and Dad were texting in the group text, and like, what do we do here? And I think we were in agreement, or at least that once we saw that they were going to let us score, that really, honestly, they played it perfectly. I mean, you got rid of their timeout, which didn't actually, I don't think it ended up mattering, but made them take their timeout on first down, and then on second down, you were able to turn that clock, and then third down at that point, you have to score, in my opinion, because I've heard Boiled Sports talk about this too. But let's say they did stop us on third down, I think there'd be like 50 seconds somewhere around there to go. I'm assuming Braum kicks a field goal there.
So we're at 4 with like 40 seconds left. Yeah. They scored in about 45.
That's true. I mean, yeah, I'm not. Yeah, so far though, with the way Syracuse and Maryland's going, if we're in that exact same situation again and it's fourth down, on the 1 yard line, yeah, I think Braum might go for it. I don't know, because if you do stop, the only thing I will say, if you do stop them, and there is 50 seconds to go, let's say they stop us, they have the ball, there's 40 seconds to go or whatever, they're on the 1 yard line, you get a sack or something. Well, you get a safety, obviously, but they have to get the ball out of bounds or a first down, I guess. The clock's gonna move quite a bit. So, but they have a pretty decent field goal kicker too. So,
yeah, I'm glad we did not get into that scenario, because I think back to Nevada when they had that kicker, make a huge long field goal on us. So yeah, being up by more than a field goal at the end of the game is a pretty nice feeling, especially for Purdue, when it seems like if something's going to happen or go wrong, it's going to go wrong. So.
Yeah, and props to the defense for. I mean, they saved their bacon in that third quarter. Like you said, the offense wasn't exactly, they were moving the ball, but those 3 turnovers could have been backbreakers. Just one more Maryland touchdown there. Maryland kind of pulled a Purdue where they couldn't take advantage of those turnovers, and defense held strong. And hopefully, though, the defense can figure out a way to close strong on the last play of the second half and the first half.
Yeah, really.
Love to see that stat. How many points were given up with under 2 minutes of each second quarter and fourth quarter. It's got to be a decent margin.
Mm-hmm.
But just looking for that complete game, and hopefully again it comes with a team like Nebraska. I'll say it again, they're feeling pretty decent about themselves at 3-2. But again, this is not a very good football team. They got beat by Northwestern, for crying out loud. That team's horrendous. They got beat by Georgia Southern. They beat IU. That's not a good team either. Rutgers is not a good team. And honestly, they should have lost that game. The way Rutgers played was just terrible. You can't let a team like Nebraska get confidence. It always scares me, that game. I don't remember what the record was, but it was against Jeff Braum at Purdue when they came in, and kind of that Purdue-ish nightmare start where I think I don't remember if something happened for them to score the first touchdown. But it was, somebody might remember this, correct me if I'm wrong, but they scored a touchdown basically. They blocked one of our punts, so they scored again. And then we went 3 and out, and I think they kicked a field goal. So I think it was like 17-0 with like 10 minutes to go in the first quarter. And it was just like, we can't have that happen. Anyway, yeah. We need exactly.
That was the COVID year, I think, maybe 2020.
Was it? It might have been.
Yeah. We lost 37-27 at the end of the first quarter. It was 17-3.
Yeah, that's right. We came back a little bit, but yeah, I agree here. Yeah, Jacob, we need to come out and dominate and show the best team. We're the best team in the West. Not Illinois, it's us. Cole, Cole, what's your thoughts on Illinois? Because I think you jumped off when we kind of discussed them last week on the podcast. You watched them much?
Little bits and pieces. I did watch a good portion of the Iowa game, and I think I don't know the severity of the Tommy DeVito injury, the quarterback, but if he is injured, I think that's definitely gonna hurt their chances at winning the West. It's their backup Sikowski from Rutgers. He's just not the same level of thrower, I don't think, and they don't have I don't think they have a ton of weapons as it is on the outside. And one of their better receivers, who's a former quarterback, I think Isaiah Williams, he got hurt in the Iowa game as well. And again,
did he?
I don't know how long he'll be out, but yeah, they don't have a ton of it. I mean, they want to run the ball, and they're very, very good at it. Chase Brown is a very good running back. That offensive line seems to do pretty well in running situations. So they're very good at that. But we match up pretty well against that as well. So that should be a huge strength for us when we go head to head. But their defense played well too. Their offense, more so than ours, really put the defense in bad positions with basically instant red zone opportunities for Iowa, which that's about all the red zone opportunities they get when the defense helps them out or the punt team. But they kept Iowa out of the end zone in those situations, and that ended up being the difference in the game. Like when Iowa played Rutgers, Iowa had 2 defensive touchdowns. So that's not letting Iowa score defensive touchdowns is a huge key in beating them, which is crazy. It's 2022, but that's the style they play. But yeah, Illinois, they have an interesting game against Minnesota this week. I think seems like, especially with Minnesota not playing last week, people are starting to almost consider them as an afterthought.
Which is, I think Minnesota changes that conversation this weekend.
So they're at Illinois. But if they win that game, then they're going to be right in the mix. And even if they lose it, they could still have a pretty favorable schedule minus a trip to Penn State. So really,
they could win that game.
Yeah, especially if Ibrahim comes back. So yeah, I think both those teams are definitely players. I think Purdue's obviously a player, and it's probably, I'd say those 3 at the top right now. Nebraska's 2-1, but I don't think really many people are going to be sticking out their necks for them at this point.
If they somehow beat Purdue, man, the noise on that is going to be through the roof.
Yeah. I don't know who they play, the week after us, but they're going to be. Yeah, I think
their schedule's actually pretty. Looking at it right now, pretty manageable. By the way, I forgot about this, but Chase Brown did not play against Purdue last year. Did you know that?
Well, I knew they had some other guy that
Josh McCray went for 156.
Yeah, he tore us up last year. He kind of reminded me of Braylon Allen a little bit. Those two both had their way against our defense.
Is he gone?
I think he's hurt.
Okay.
So they've been playing Reggie Love as this backup, I think he's pretty good, but Chase Brown's definitely the ticket there.
So Nebraska plays at Purdue, obviously. Then they go, they have a bye week. Then they play at home against Illinois, at home against Minnesota, at Michigan, at home against Wisconsin, and at Iowa. So, that's a pretty difficult schedule. Looks like Hetfield is trying to join. Hetfield, if you want to come on, please feel free to join in, but it's saying that you'll need to connect your mic before you can add them to the stream. So I don't know, maybe there's a button you need to push while you're in there or not, but doesn't look like there's anything I can do on my side. We'll
see too if Wisconsin can get back in the thick of things. And I think we're both in agreement they're not a very good football team this year, especially compared to what they've been in the past. But this isn't a very good division, so I don't know who they play this week. But they've got 2 losses. Depending on how different games shake out, like if, for instance, if Nebraska is able to beat us this week, or if Minnesota knocks off Illinois, and Wisconsin wins, I think they'll be potentially in the thick of it. And they got the new coach bump maybe, but it's hard to tell after one game because they played Northwestern, who just looked horrible. I mean, I watched a little bit of that.
See, that's the problem. I don't think the West is as bad as people think. There's just some really crappy teams in it. Well, right now there's really just one crappy team, Northwestern. We'll see how bad Nebraska is. Purdue absolutely dismantles them.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, but I don't think the West is horrible by any stretch. It just really seems apparent that there's no
exactly.
Team.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of capable teams of winning the division, but yeah, there's really nobody that's separating from the pack at this point.
I mean, it's essentially the East the normal year without Ohio State, and that's kind of what it is. But we got Hetfield. Let's see if you can join in. Can you hear us? It's like he's muted. Hetfield, if you're there, feel free to unmute yourself if you can. Oh, should be good. Can you hear us? All right. Well, sorry about that. Not sure what's going on. So they're unmuted.
So just the Big Ten West games this week. Minnesota's at Illinois, obviously, but then Wisconsin is at Michigan State. There are 7-point favorites on the road.
Where are they at? Oh, Michigan State.
Yeah, and those are the only West games this week.
That's a big game. I think it's a big game for Michigan State too. Well, big game for both programs, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Michigan State pull that. Wow, I don't know. I don't know how bad Michigan State really is.
They're in a bad spot. I mean they play Wisconsin this week. They got 2 weeks off, and then they're at Michigan, or they got 1 week off, and then the following week they're at Michigan. Then they're at Illinois. I mean, if they lose this Wisconsin game, they're already, 0-3 in conference. They could easily be 0-4. Then Michigan 0-5. Illinois potentially 0-6. They do have Rutgers and Indiana after that at home, but then they finish at Penn State. I mean, I know they're an East team, but I would find it hard to believe that Michigan State is going to make a bowl game and get to 6 wins. They just look, they look like they're in a bad spot. And
they do not look good. Hutt makes a good point. We need to beat Wisconsin probably to win the West, because Minnesota, as you said, if Minnesota beats Illinois, they play at Penn State, which is, I mean, it's going to be a tough game. That with their defense and stuff, that's a winnable game. And they got at home to Rutgers, at Nebraska, at home against Northwestern, at home against Iowa, at home against at Wisconsin. Crazy terrible game in there. So thank goodness we have the tiebreaker against them.
Yeah, that's going to be huge.
Thing is, though, I don't think Wisconsin plays anybody either, though. That's why they really need to lose to Michigan State.
Yeah, we've really, these crossover games, we're going to need some help.
They play nobody. They get that. So yeah, if Wisconsin, they've already lost 2 games though, at least. But yeah, if Wisconsin loses to Michigan State, I think they're pretty much done.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But if they do win and they beat us, I mean, they got Maryland at home, at Iowa, at Nebraska, at home. They have against Minnesota at home. So it's going to be a crazy. That Michigan State Wisconsin game is a huge game. Huge game. And I've said, Illinois, I could see Illinois. Everybody, they're on top right now, but I could see Illinois losing like their next 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, they've got Minnesota at home, who's been had the off week. Then Illinois is off. Then they're at Nebraska. home versus Michigan State, home versus Purdue, at Michigan, at Northwestern.
Obviously, that Michigan's game is going to be a loss, most likely, unless Illinois does that thing they do every year. They somehow beat some amazing team. But yeah, I mean, they could. I mean, even that Nebraska might be a tough game for them. Who knows? Maybe not.
Yeah, I think Nebraska, one way or another, will play a part between, all the Illinois and Minnesota. I think they'll probably get somebody. Wisconsin, Iowa, whoever it is, I think they'll get somebody. Hopefully, it's not us.
Yeah, good question. Do we want Illinois beating Minnesota, or do we want Minnesota to beat Illinois?
That's a good question. Since we've already beaten Minnesota, I guess maybe Minnesota winning would be better.
Oh, let's just win all the rest of our games, and it'll take care of itself.
It's too early. There's got to be some more separation.
So yeah. Coming back and saying that again, and we're probably going to wrap this show up in 12 minutes or so. So if anybody wants to jump on real quick and share a few thoughts, feel free. We're not going to go super long tonight, but so I guess we'll get to the meat of it here. Saying all this, it is fun talking about this. The Purdue West, or winning the West, but when it comes down to it, Purdue needs to show it this Saturday at 7:30 that they are a legitimate Big Ten West threat, and they need to honestly beat the brains out of Nebraska. I'm talking like 35-20, or even at least. I want to see Purdue put up over 30 points, and I want to see the defense hold them to. I guess if we go over 30, they can give up maybe 3 touchdowns in a last second kind of thing, but. We need to win by double digits. We need to put some points on the board, especially against that defense. We need to win big finally. Because again, we're not. I just don't see us. I feel like we're the Iowa Hawkeyes of old, where we just win by the skin of our teeth every game, which I think they've done it a few times here and there. But But JB, the weather on Saturday night, I believe I heard is pretty good. I think no rain on the forecast, and I think the high 50s. I want to say. So, knock on wood. So far, we've been blessed with weather.
Yeah,
that's another. That's another thing though. That's another thing though, Cole. Too is, thank goodness we have a good run defense, but our some of these games, like especially Illinois and Iowa, the weather could be, we're getting later in the year. Could have some dicey weather games coming up against teams like Iowa. Iowa's putrid on defense, or excuse me, offense, obviously. But that defense in a bad weather game, I mean, that could be potentially have some issues. That could be a tough game. Yeah, and even a team like Illinois. So we need to win the games now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cotton Bowl. Take the Cotton Bowl. What are your current predictions for Purdue's final games? I want to say 6-0 or 5-1. Oh, I love that. This is a good point. Down to 6 startable linemen and 1 O'Connell injury away from 7-5. Yeah, if we lose O'Connell, we would be in trouble.
Everything's
up. But yeah, the offensive line is that. I think guards were okay, but yeah, tackles, we're down to like 2 tackles. With Bo and Musa, who aren't even true tackles now. They're playing tackle with Eric Miller. DJ Washington just got moved back to offensive line, which, he started one game a couple years ago. He might be able to play a little bit as a reserve guard, but we can't afford any more injuries on the offensive line. Thank goodness we got those transfers in here, and, we went from 8 to 6. But yeah, that's a good point. We just need to get, so, all right, yeah, we'll do a quick prediction here. So we got, well, I don't know, Cole, what do you think? Obviously, I think stats for this, or we'll just do our predictions right now for Nebraska. What do you got? I got Purdue. I'm going to say Purdue actually really puts together, and they win 42-20. Nebraska misses an extra point.
I'll say 35-21.
That's a good prediction too. I like it.
Boilers. Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying about wanting to see them beat the brains out of Nebraska, but at the end of the day, I'll just get a win however you can.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. There's got to be a cushion.
Yeah.
And we keep saying this. Everyone keeps saying it. There has to be a cushion.
But
You know,
yeah,
because
eventually
it's gonna bite them.
turn the other way. Yeah.
Yeah, it has, and it already has in the Syracuse game, and when they're not taking advantage of these opportunities. We just got to get to that bye week, man. I wish that bye week was like next week.
Yeah, well, it's after the
Wisconsin
game. So yeah, we got 2. Yeah, I mean, we talked about running backs a little bit, but yeah, Devin Downing, or Dylan Downing's been having a really nice couple weeks, and now he's gone. King's still out. Seems like the receivers are kind of getting back in the fold, so that's a pretty healthy room right now. I know Jones is a little banged up.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get Thompson back, but sounds like he probably won't be back to maybe after the bye week, and that's pure speculation. But
right
at Wisconsin, again, until Purdue beats Wisconsin, I'm saying loss.
Yeah, I think Purdue, I don't know, game to game seems like it's going to be hard to predict just with how even all these teams are, but I think 4-2 is probably pretty likely is how we end up. I'd love to be 5-1, and I think it's definitely doable. I mean 6-0 is doable, but just with the close games, eventually they go the other way. But I think we'll go 4-2, finish 6-3, and honestly, that may be good enough. It's gonna depend.
Yeah, maybe.
It's just gonna depend on other teams.
If it losses to Wisconsin, I don't see it. That's the problem. Unless Michigan State can beat Wisconsin. If Michigan State beats Wisconsin, then I think you can afford to lose to them. I don't know. I don't know. It's as you said, it's too early. I think maybe after this weekend you can do a little bit more speculation, but I think Purdue really needs to beat Illinois, and they really need to beat Wisconsin.
Yeah, if they win these next 2 games, and they can go into that end of October in a bye week, there's going to be some real clarity, I think, for that Iowa game on the November 5th.
Yeah.
We'll have 4 games left, 2 of which Northwestern, Indiana at the very tail end of the schedule. Pretty 2 of the worst teams on our schedule. So I think at that point we maybe see a path. But yeah, we got to win those first 2. And like you said, until we beat Wisconsin, it's gonna until it happens, you gotta lean towards Wisconsin, even though they've not been very good. I mean, they've got our number.
Yeah, very interested to see what they look like against Wisconsin, or excuse me, against Michigan State, to see if they're, if they've kind of got it figured out or not. But just lost my train of thought. What I was going to say next. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Burton in for a few plays too. Especially now he's got the threat of running, or not running, obviously running, threat of passing. Defense is actually seeing him do it. Can be that little Taysom Hill option, who, by the way, which I off topic, did not start my fantasy game and I lost, which I've been starting him every week.
The 1 week you bench him, yeah.
The 1 week I bench him, he goes off.
Put up more points than most quarterbacks.
Gosh dang it. I'm salty about that. Well, I think 4-2. That's good. If we go 4-2, which I think is very, 9-3 for the season, not 9-3 for the season. That'd be 8-4, right?
8-4, yeah.
Yeah, 8-4, but more importantly, 6-3, the Big Ten, which is what I think we both had preseason, because you had us losing to Nebraska.
Yeah, Nebraska, Wisconsin, and
Minnesota. So, and I said then 6-3, I don't think is going to get it done to go west.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see.
I know what I was going to say. Watch Iowa. Just Iowa its way into there.
I've been keeping my eye on them all season, but I think that Illinois game, a lot of people were saying they were, rooting for Iowa in that game, but I was rooting for Illinois. I do not want to see Iowa, because I mean they're one quarterback change away from potentially, being a decent team. I don't know why their staff is so
speaking
afraid.
Of that, did you hear what Brian Ferentz said today in his press conference about that?
No,
about Padilla. He said, "What?" I should probably quote it, but he said something to the fact of like, "What would there be to gain by putting him in?"
I mean,
Are you kidding me? There's only way it goes up. Like, dude, why would you not play him for a series just to see what you have?
Right, just to change it up. I mean, they're like statistically, they're like in the 120s in basically every single offensive category. But so in that Illinois-Iowa game, there was a moment where it looked like Petrus was gonna get not benched but hurt, and missed some time because there was a targeting play that I think they ended up taking back. But anyway, he got hit in the head, but he stayed in the game. I thought that might be the time that they switched quarterbacks, but they kept him in, and then he throws a late game interception, and then him and Brian Ferentz are over there laughing on the sidelines, which I know Iowa fans had to be irate seeing that. I mean, it's just like what?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I could not imagine being an Iowa fan. I mean, just that's maddening. I mean, that's crazy. That reminds you like Danny Hope with the it's 10 times worse than Danny Hope when doing the Robert Marv, Terry Bush, back and forth, which Marv was clearly the better quarterback. But I don't know, Cole. We've gone 45 minutes. I know we haven't really had any callers tonight, but this has kind of been a not as not what I'm trying. Can't even talk about it. I guess discussed podcast tonight. Prepared, I guess that's the word. Preparation wasn't there tonight on our parts, and we just kind of threw this together. I'm not traveling this week, but I think we're going to wrap it up, guys. Unless Cole, you have any final thoughts? Short and sweet tonight. 45 minutes, I guess. They call that short and sweet.
I guess I should just note the I mentioned the penalty theme last week. How when we have low penalties, seems to favor us. And I mean, Maryland made some pretty boneheaded plays and got some flags against us that helped us, finish some drives and score some touchdowns. So I will say that's the one thing in these close games. If we can continue to be disciplined, that's obviously going to be a huge factor. And honestly, that's probably why we've been pulling these games out, is because we've been playing pretty clean games.
Yes. So
hopefully that's a trend that continues. That's going to be a huge key, especially against a team like Nebraska. They're probably going to want to muck things up on us and talk tons of trash, I'm sure, get us going. So
fast start is the key there.
Yeah,
you need to come out and score a touchdown and shut them up right away. For sure. I think I am going to do this, Cole. I don't know if you're going to be available next week, but Tuesday I'll be in Omaha. Actually, speaking of that, I will be in Nebraska, Omaha Tuesday. Actually, Monday night and Tuesday night. So, I will be at the hotel. Might do a later start and have another one of these with probably more discussion. And hopefully at that point we'll have some more clarity. We'll be 5-2 and we'll know have some better scenarios to play in our heads of what the records look like and what it's going to take to get to Indy. So I guess with that we're going to wrap it up. Actually, real quick before we go over, the betting stats here, over under. Does Maccabee run for over 100 yards against Nebraska? Over under 100 yards.
Oof. I'm gonna say under, just because I think
Purdue.
Yeah, and I think maybe we'll get some other guys involved, like more carries for Lewis and Tracy. So I'm gonna say under. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say over, but the only reason it's going to be over is because the mock is going to take one. I'm going to say 70 plus yards for a touchdown.
Well, hey,
that's my guess.
I would love to see that.
But I think he's only going to get like 120. So I think, he's going to have 50 yards of regular run, and then he's going to go for 70. So, all right, guys, we appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. Again, we'll probably have a longer one next week. At least I will, but at the home base this week. So, all right, boiler up. God bless. We'll see you.
Boiler up.